With Faith Saley, we take a trip down the sweetest of memory lanes.
For the last 75 years, generations have taken turns weaving through a rainbow road surrounded by all things candy. Playing Candyland is a stroll or a leap down memory lane.
So most families have one Candyland, and how many do you have?
We have about 9 different versions of the game here.
Kindergarten teacher Tiffany Fox of Galion, Ohio, has quite a sweet tooth for the game.
What are the most iconic characters in Candyland?
So one of the most iconic characters is Queen Frostine, Princess Lolly, King Candy. Gloppy was a fun one. He started as Molasses, and then they kind of just kicked him out of the game. All right, your turn.
Aside from its characters, Fox says the game offers life lessons.
Patience, winning, losing, taking turns, learning your colors. This is one of the first games that kids pick up, so they need to learn all of those skills to be able to play bigger games later in their life.
Why do you think the game still hits a sweet spot?
It comes down to candy. Who doesn't love candy? When have you ever offered somebody a piece of candy and they said, no, thank you? You get to reach in and choose a piece of candy.
Brian Baker also grew up with the game. Today, he's Senior Vice President of Board Games for Hasbro in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
To date, we have sold over 75 million copies of Candyland.
And after 2 years of research and development,
This one.
Oh, you like Lord Licorice?
Orange.
a new 75th anniversary edition of Candyland is coming out this Tuesday.
So your goal is to beat the Gummy Bear Twins to the castle before they mix all the sweet and sour candies up.
Wait, suddenly strategy is a part of Candyland?
That's been one of the insights that we got from parents.
With surprises for some loyal fans.
1, 2, give 5. Good job.
What's been a sweet success for Hasbro was first Milton Bradley's bestseller when the game came out in 1949.
What do you think would surprise people the most to learn about Candyland?
I keep going back to the origin story.
Take a good look at the original, because this world of candy...
It was called infantile paralysis, but it struck at victims of all ages.
...was inspired by children who really yearned for escape.
Candyland was invented by a woman named Eleanor Abbott, and she was recovering from polio herself, and saw all these children. They were in iron lungs.
She didn't just invent a game, she alleviated children's suffering. And this has to be Eleanor, based on her yearbook photo.
Authors Sandra Miller and Margaret Muirhead in Arlington, Massachusetts, have been unwrapping Eleanor Abbott's life for a future children's book.
And the object of the game, which is to get home, takes on really special significance when you think about these patients who are isolated from their families for really long periods of time.
They want to give credit to an inventor long overlooked.
She hit on a very simple truth, and it's that children love candy. They love envisioning the dreamscape of a candy world. And that is her legacy, is that she created this enduring game.
So keep on playing those mind games together. Faith in the future. Out of the now.
New Orleans, of course, is a food town. Hot beignets, anyone? Still, Mo Rocca reminds us there's a lot more on the menu.
It's really my comfort food. Like curry, for me, like on a rainy day or like a cold day, it makes my soul very happy.
To eat in New Orleans is to taste the world.
So tender. More people need goat in their lives.
They do. I agree. I agree.
In 2015, Nina Compton, whom some will recognize from Bravo's Top Chef,
Bernard, you'll take 2 tuna, please?
opened Compare Le Pan, with her husband, Larry Miller. The two had met years earlier in Miami.
I tasted her food before I met her. I heard this great laugh coming out of the kitchen. And when I figured out the same laugh was making that good food, I started pursuing her.
What does Compère Lapin mean?
It means Brother Rabbit. It's a folktale I grew up with in St. Lucia.
Her father, Sir John Compton, led the Caribbean island of St. Lucia to independence in 1979, then served as its first prime minister.
How much of this restaurant is St. Lucia? How much is New Orleans?
I would say 50% New Orleans and 50% St. Lucia. So it becomes a very harmonious menu.
The restaurant's signature curried goat is something Compton ate growing up in St. Lucia.
It's the #1 selling dish. People come for it, they ask for it.
Did you grow up with goat?
No, not at all. The first time I had goat was with her.
We're in New Orleans, so let's talk about the other G word.
Gumbo.
It's not on the menu here.
It's not on the menu. People assume that I would have gumbo in the menu, and when I moved here, it is such a personal thing. I just wanted to respect the people that came before me and just let them have the gumbo.
The absence of gumbo hasn't seemed to hurt.
Crispy rice to 25.
In 2018, Nina Compton won the James Beard Foundation's award for Best Chef in the South.
Sure, thank you for the shrimp. It looks beautiful.
While Chef Compton has brought the Caribbean to New Orleans, Chef Serene Mbai is bringing West Africa to the Crescent City.
I always get to share a story about how this plate came about. Sometimes give a deep history about what's happening here.
Can I say one thing? I really love the colors.
Mbai opened Dakar Nola in 2022 after it started as a pop-up restaurant where he met his business partner, Effie Richardson.
It was the first time I actually saw a tasting menu of West African food, and I just loved the concept.
Mbai spent much of his youth in Senegal. Dakar is its capital, but he was born in Harlem, where he watched his mother cook for relatives and neighbors.
She was literally nurturing people's soul through food. I realized that I wanted something that reminisced how my mom made everyone feel.
But it was in Senegal where Mbai was inspired by the traditional one-pot cooking technique.
A lot of dishes are composed by maybe 6 or 7 different components that's made in a different pot. Versus Senegal, everything happened within one pot.
That spirit of unity is reflected in the restaurant's oval communal tables.
I love the table. Why is it this shape?
It's a connector. I feel like it's a perfect table to connect people together.
Allowing strangers to get to really know each other, especially when you eat with your hands.
There's enough room on the table for the food, but then there's also closeness that allows you to really engage with everyone at the table.
After biting into this cassava and trout roe starter, this correspondent understood why Dakar Nola won the Beard Award for Best New Restaurant in 2024.
It really has a kick also at the end, which I love. I'm a fan of yuca fries. It's like a very refined but delicious hash brown.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Yes.
While neither of these restaurants serves gumbo, both are bringing ingredients and traditions that have made New Orleans' food scene an even richer stew.
The food is not dainty or very frou-frou. It's really about satisfying your soul and making you happy.
All right, there we go, 9. I'm gonna take the penguin.
Brian Baker has the perfect job. His work is play.
Yeah, for 280. We produce board games. We've been doing it in some shape or form for over 165 years. I grew up with all of this.
Baker is the Senior VP of Board Games at Hasbro in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Here, even staff meetings are fun and games.
If you were on a desert island with 3 of your friends, what game would you take?
it's got to be Monopoly.
Available today in 114 countries and 47 languages. This is the Holy Grail.
This is one of the original Monopolies.
Born in the Depression almost 90 years ago, Monopoly is now the top-selling modern board game of all time. Baker says it is all in the design.
A lot of the elements of the board are timeless, they're iconic, everything from the go space to free parking.
But design isn't just about looks, it's also about action. Baker calls it replayability, the most important design element for a game's success.
One of the great things about Monopoly is that in any given game, anyone can be the winner.
Or the loser. I had a relative who always invariably would burst into tears every time we played, before the game was over.
Absolutely, and I think it's not uncommon for somebody to end up flipping the board over and having the tokens fly all over the place.
This is what you want?
Frustration. Yes, and that's why people want to play.
It's rather sadistic, isn't it?
It could be, but we call it competition.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
We ended our visit, how else, with a relatively friendly round.
Chance card. Oh, I'm sorry. Go to jail. Go directly to jail.
I
Do
hate
not
this
pass
game.
go, and do not collect.
I'm rolling again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
By one estimate, there are now more cell phones than people on this planet. A pocket-sized marvel that changed our world. David Pogue tells us we have one man to thank.
There wouldn't be Uber or Lyft or Google Maps or FaceTime or Instagram or Tinder or Snapchat or TikTok or iPhones or Android phones if someone hadn't invented the cell phone. Fortunately, somebody did.
I know a lot about the future because I spent all my time there, but I should be thinking about practical things of today.
It was Marty Cooper, whose memoir tells the story. Chicago native, Navy submarine officer, and eventually an executive at Motorola, maker of police and military radios, and in the early 70s, the two-way radio known as the car phone, something like this one.
A radio telephone on your dashboard, ready to connect you while you drive.
These car telephones were not cellular car telephones.
That's correct.
Okay.
They had one transmitter in a city and a very limited amount of radio channels. The chances were 1 in 20 that you could make a phone call. That's how bad that service was.
In 1972, the idea of a cellular network was catching on, where cities were divided into smaller land regions called cells, each with a transmission tower. As you moved from cell to cell, your call would be handed off from one tower to another. AT&T, Motorola's much bigger rival, asked the FCC for a monopoly on cellular communications, not because it had a vision of phones in our pockets, but to expand its car phone business.
They were going to take over our business as well as this whole new thing and do it wrong. People had been wired to their desks in their kitchens for over 100 years, and now they're going to wire us to our cars, where we spend 5% of our time.
Motorola wanted to prove that opening up the airwaves to competition would spur more innovation.
So I thought about how can we do a dazzling demonstration? The only way to do it is to have a working something.
The Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Cooper's team began with the design, not the technology.
Small enough to put in your pocket, big enough so that it could go between your ears and your mouth.
Oh, wait a minute, this isn't a miniature, this is what they actually had in mind?
That's exactly right.
It's a tenth the size of the final one. Yeah. But by the time Motorola had added the battery and all the circuitry,
it grew to this size.
In only 3 months, Marty Cooper had overseen the construction of a working cell phone. Cooper named it the Dynatac.
You could talk for 25 minutes before the phone ran down.
On April 3rd, 1973, Cooper made the world's first public cell phone call as a demonstration for a reporter.
So we met this guy on 6th Avenue, New York, in front of the Hilton, and then I had to make a phone call to demonstrate it.
And whom did he call? Joel Engel, his arch rival over at AT&T.
And I said, Joel, I'm calling you on a cell phone, but a real cell phone, a personal, handheld, portable cell phone. Silence on the other end of the line.
Cooper's gambit worked.
Scenes like this are becoming commonplace in U.S. cities where cellular is available today.
The FCC was so impressed that it opened the cellular industry to competition.
More people will take advantage of cellular as its benefits become apparent.
Cooper left Motorola in 1983. Since then, he and his wife, Arlene Harris, a tech inventor in her own right, have started a series of companies in the cellular industry. Isn't the general advice for relationships not to work with your spouse?
We don't agree about everything, but that's the spice of life, is a disagreement, as long as it's friendly.
But it seems like if there's a technological dispute, can't you just go, I'll have you know I'm the father of the cell phone? Wouldn't you automatically win?
No.
The cell phone has come a long way, but Cooper thinks that we've only begun to tap its potential.
Oh, David, we are only at the very, very beginning. We are going to revolutionize mankind in many ways. I believe that the whole process of education is going to be revolutionized. And the other revolutions that are going to happen is in healthcare. I know I sound like an optimist, but poverty is going to be a thing of the past.
Already, he says, workers in poorer countries use their cell phones to move money around without needing a bank.
This is stimulated entrepreneurism. People's lives are being saved. People are being moved out of poverty.
Marty Cooper is a notorious fitness buff. At 92, he lifts weights and takes walks, sometimes on the beach in front of his home. But he considers mental exercise even more important.
If you don't keep learning all your life, keep an open mind, soak up stuff, be curious, you lose the ability to learn. And to me, that's the scariest thing of all.
As for his book, well, Hollywood has already bought the film rights.
Who's gonna play you in the movie?
I was hoping that you would do it, David. You're the only star that I know.
Have your people talk to my people.
Yeah, right. I love it.
Here's what I find strange, Marty. I know this is a stereotype, but as a 92-year-old guy, I might expect you to relish the stories from the past more than the stories of the future.
Well, I have observed that things in the past have continued to improve. You know, people are richer today, they are healthier today. We've still got a lot of problems, but there's no reason to think that we aren't going to keep improving.
"'Tis the season for Christmas toys, and for nearly a century now, one innovative company has been crafting both toys and lasting memories. Serena Altschul takes us back.
They are the touchstones of our youth.
Little wobble.
The rock-a-stack. The xylophone.
And who makes our little people have such an interesting time?
And
Your little people.
those little people. No matter how old we are, everyone remembers their favorite childhood toys.
Here's a toy that everybody knows, the corn popper.
Then there's the lesser-known Bunny Scoot. It was introduced in 1931, part of the first batch of toys ever sold by Fisher-Price. They called them the 16 Hopefuls.
This is the Ark of the Covenant, as I call it.
Bruce Fox, who used to work for the company, has collected more than 500 Fisher-Price toys and the stories to go with them.
And in 1933, this toy solved an international incident in Chile. And they all were upset, and they were around a table, and the American ambassador pulled this toy out of his briefcase. And he put it on the table, and the toy started walking back and forth and across the table, and everybody started laughing, and they all calmed down.
Remember the chatter phone? At first called the talkback telephone. It was a flop.
because moms didn't want to buy it because they didn't want their kids talking back to them. So after a year of the talkback telephone, Fisher-Price quit making it, and all they did was change the name to the chatterphone.
All told, more than 27 million have been sold, and counting. This holiday season, cooped-up parents will spend an average of $150 on gifts for each of their kids. And Fisher-Price is a gold mine for many toy stores.
I used to have one of those when I was little, Emma.
Oh
gosh.
This camera also, please.
At the toy store in Sun Valley, Idaho, some of their best sellers are licensed reproductions of Fisher-Price classics.
And you can see, you turn it, and it's,
wow. Carol Knight is the store's owner. What do customers say when they see the Fisher-Price?
well, they react and say, oh my gosh, I remember when I had that toy as a child.
It's emotional.
It's very emotional, and there's always a smile on their face.
It all started in the small town of East Aurora, New York in 1930. Businessman Herm Fisher joined forces with the city's mayor, Irving Price, and his illustrator wife, Margaret, along with a toy shop owner named Helen Shelley. Together, they created a line of whimsical toys.
Just after they launched, there's a horrible snowstorm, and they know they have to make this delivery to Macy's.
When you're a startup, even in 1930, you do what it takes.
Chuck Scothen is Senior Vice President of Fisher-Price.
They believed that toys were something that would make a difference in the world.
During World War II, the company stopped making toys and started making aircraft parts and shipping crates for supplies.
They really delivered the same premise of making great things. They just focused on supporting the war effort at that time versus focusing on toys.
That ability to pivot served them well again this year. When the pandemic hit, the company released a line of thank you heroes and donated the proceeds. And with more parents working from home, Fisher-Price is keeping kids busy with toys that allow them to imitate mom and dad. But it hasn't been all fun and games.
Over 30 infant fatalities have occurred.
Last year, Fisher-Price recalled millions of its Rock and Play sleepers, which were linked to accidental infant deaths. But now, as the company marks 90 years, Chuck Scothen says they have staying power.
Let's go left.
Because they've embraced their roots, like their legendary Play Lab.
The Play Lab was inspired really by Herm Fisher's vision that you needed to learn from children, not tell children what they wanted. That observing children would help you make better toys.
Everybody asks this. How long is the wait list to become a tester?
The list is not nearly as long as you'd think. Particularly in 2020, we are now doing a lot of virtual toy testing.
Would you like to keep those toys?
Huh?
I bet.
Zarni Hatay and Jessica Zolatz and their children Cyrus and Anya are among the lucky ones.
Can you tell when a toy is like, oh, they really nailed it here, this is a great one, it's going to be interesting for a long time?
I think what you're seeing right now is a good sign.
And that's music to Dominic Gubitosi's ears, because after all, he designed them. A dream job, years in the making.
It really started at an early age. I probably played with toys longer than most kids.
Turns out it was more than child's play. Now at Fisher-Price, he oversees the way a toy looks, moves, and even sounds. Inspiration can strike at any time.
The original Jumperoo, which was a great way, inspired by people bungee jumping. And we said, how can we make babies bungee jump? And we figured out a great way.
Great innovation mixed with a little nostalgia. It's a formula that stood the test of time.
Anything that's part of your childhood and is part of positive memories is always something you hold dear to yourself, and is certainly something you want for your children and your grandchildren, so that everybody, grandma, grandpa, mom and dad, and the child, share in that Fisher-Price connection.
One of the most popular toys ever is about to get an earth-friendly makeover. Roxana Saberi takes us to the land where the magic is made.
From the skies above Billund, Denmark, you can guess which famous toy company calls this town home. And inside this life-size Lego building, it's Lego heaven. Just about anything imaginable, reimagined in the tiny plastic bricks that have been inspiring tiny minds for decades.
Is Lego your favorite toy?
Yeah.
Like more than video games?
Yeah. My second favorite toy is video games.
Because even 7-year-old Max knows you can only do so much with an iPad.
On the iPad, you can't really build something like with the hands.
That hands-on approach has been a hit since the brick was born in the 1950s.
A whole new world to build.
The unique system of interlocking bricks makes for endless possibilities. No wonder it was dubbed the toy of the 20th century for its universal appeal. Lego has come a long way from its humble beginnings in the 1930s, when Danish carpenter Ole Kirk Christensen started making wooden toys in his Billund workshop.
This was the earliest Lego toys, yeah.
Made out of wood.
Only made out of wood.
They were called Lego, from the Danish phrase legot, which means play well. Torben Skov has been designing Lego sets for more than 30 years.
Does the toy live up to the name?
I think it does. It did at that time, and it still does. These two parts of the mold would go together.
He showed us the machine that made Lego's first plastic toys.
The hot plastic will go into the mold. So over here you
and the prototypes for the bricks that would change everything.
The bricks.
The company has since produced trillions of its now famous plastic bricks, and they've changed so little that a piece made today still fits with one from 1958. Which begs the question, why now is Lego remaking the very product that's clicked with kids for generations?
So we're taking plastic pellets along.
The problem is the plastic.
This is plastic that's made out of oil.
That's correct.
This is what you want to change.
This is what we're looking to find a better alternative for sure.
To find that alternative, Lego appointed Tim Brooks as Vice President for Environmental Responsibility and set a 2030 deadline to eliminate petroleum-based plastics to shrink its carbon footprint.
And you can see it will break in a moment.
Oh, yeah. Soren Christensen and his team at Lego's Labs have been testing hundreds of plant-based and recycled materials in search of a suitable substitute.
What is this material right here?
This is one of the new materials. I cannot tell you.
Oh, it's a secret.
This is a secret, yes.
But it's one you're testing.
This is one we are testing, yes.
How sturdy is this?
This is very sturdy.
Is it sturdy enough for your new bricks?
Yeah, but there's a lot of other things we have to solve.
He says the new bricks will have to look and feel just like the current ones. No easy task.
When you look at these, they're shiny, they fit together, they're super safe, they have a sound, they're all the same color. So these are all properties that are quite hard to replicate in a new material. These are from a recycled material and they just don't fit together.
Yeah, they fall apart
They
easily.
just fall apart too easily, so we need to make those a bit tighter.
Is it safe to say that the material you need to recreate these bricks in a more environmentally friendly way just does not exist?
It's a tough one, for sure. There are sustainable materials that exist out there, but the challenge is that quality and that safety.
Tim Brooks says Lego has found one replacement so far for some of its softer pieces.
This is just coming off, fresh off the production line. It's still a bit warm and you can feel it, and there you go.
It's plastic made from sugarcane, but the new material works in less than 2% of Lego's products. And critics say even plant-based plastics can weigh heavily on the environment.
There is some concern that using sugarcane to create plastic is also very resource intensive. It requires a lot of water, it might involve deforestation.
Actually, on sugarcane, we've put additional checks in place to make sure that it's grown in the right way. It's a lower environmental footprint than making bricks from oil, for sure. It doesn't come without challenges, and I think we shouldn't always see that bio-based materials are a silver bullet. It's a step on the journey.
Lego is taking other steps too, running wind farms to offset energy used at its sites and factories, and aiming for 100% renewable or recyclable packaging. This way, Lego hopes, kids can play well into the future.
We say we want to inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow.
So that means making a planet for them in the future. And we can't say that we made a product, a great toy for them, but somehow that damaged their planet when they get older.
In Racine, Wisconsin, the holidays are all about the Kringle. There's a certain skill involved in making the Wisconsin state pastry.
Good Lord, that's a lot of dough.
Isn't it?
It takes lots of this
Then
to make the dough flaky. Then you have to do this again and again to make the 36 layers.
Does everybody do this much by hand?
as far as I know now, nobody at all does. I think we're the last ones.
For 4 generations, Benson's Bakery has been mastering the technique.
You can see the layers of
Well, you can see the butter
shortening.
really the best.
Yeah.
When the Benson family opened its bakery 81 years ago, they followed the Danish tradition of a pretzel-shaped pastry. Its popularity quickly earned Racine the nickname Kringleville. Complete with a Kringle Queen and a Kringle-inspired polka. Originally, the Danish pastry had an almond filling with raisins. Now Ben Jr. and his son Ben III
They look right.
make close to 30 flavors.
Almond, apple, apricot, blueberry, cherry, raspberry, pecan. Those are our most popular.
To save time, the pretzel shape became an oval, but everything else has stayed the same.
My grandpa, until he died, would come up here and he'd say, you just keep the quality, and he says, you'll be here forever. Well, I'm still here.
When you come into Racine, one of the first things people will ask you is, have you had a Kringle yet?
I had to come all the way from Scottsdale, Arizona to get one of these.
Not far from Benson's is O&H Danish Bakery, family-run since 1949.
That looks good.
You know, we make our own fillings here.
Owner Eric Olson took us on a tour of his 39,000 square foot facility, where machines have mastered the delicate layers and folds. Daily, they make 5,000 to 7,000 Kringles. During the holidays, they've shipped up to 20,000 in one day.
In the late 1950s, some of the bakers started shipping Kringle as gifts, and that became very popular, so the word kind of spread.
People come here because we have a vegan Kringle, and we're noted for it.
At Larson's Bakery, they've combined techniques, rolling the dough by machine, then filling and forming their vegan Kringles by hand. Don Hutchinson's father bought the bakery in 1969, and Hutchinson says a Kringle from anywhere else just isn't the same.
You know, it's kind of like going to New York and having a New York bagel. You know, you can't get a New York bagel anywhere else because they put the time into it and the labor into making it right.
You must feel some sense of pride.
Absolutely. There's not a lot of bakers anymore. So to do this and to carry on the tradition of making Kringles here in Racine is something that I enjoy.
Regardless of how they're made, by hand, with help from a machine, or a little bit of both, you can taste the craftsmanship in every bite.
It seems like all the bakers here are friends.
You know, it's friendly competition. We want to make the best quality product, one that everybody can be proud of, because we're all representing Racine.
Even the trays are like legit old school.
Yeah, we did a lot of research and we found what the original ones looked like and we had them reproduced.
The trays at Clifton's Cafeteria in downtown Los Angeles are only a tiny detail in a restaurant that feels like you've walked into Throwback Thursday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
And ordered a side of nostalgia.
We have the original Jell-O that people have loved for generations.
Developer Andrew Myron has had a crush on this quirky old place for as long as he can remember.
First time I saw it, I was absolutely astonished. I think it was one of those places where you're transported the moment you walk through the door.
Clifton's is nothing short of an institution. It opened on this very spot in 1935, billed back then as the world's largest cafeteria. In the thick of the Depression, it became famous as the Cafeteria of the Golden Rule. Its morally minded proprietor, Clifford Clinton, had a policy to never turn anyone away, whether they could pay for their hot meal or not.
The idea was not to make money. The idea was that it gave back to the community.
Clinton also wanted to feed the soul. So he turned his dining room into a woodland escape from LA's downtown troubles. He built columns of redwood trees sprawling over the tables. There were rocks and shrubs bursting from the walls, even a tiny chapel.
How many people at the height was he serving?
He was serving 15,000 a day.
15,000?
15,000 a day, and 170 million for this location from the time it opened until now.
It drew more than the hungry. It drew the artsy, too. From the likes of Walt Disney to Jack Kerouac, even science fiction writer Ray Bradbury became a regular. But as LA's downtown began to decay, so did Clifford Clinton's dream. His children tried to keep meals affordable for those on nearby Skid Row, but by 2010, they were considering closing Clifton's doors for the first time in 75 years. That's when Andrew Myron stepped in.
Did anybody tell you that you were crazy for trying to do this?
I think it's a better question, did anybody tell me I wasn't crazy for doing this?
More than $10 million later, he's now as much in the cafeteria business as he is into forestry. Or so it seems.
How did you conceive of this?
Strangely, it's one of the first things that I thought of when I actually walked in.
Giant tree in the middle of a restaurant.
Giant tree in the middle of the restaurant.
Yes, a 40-foot redwood tree. It's a fake one, but a good one, soaring 3 stories through an atrium. There are also herds of taxidermied animals, eyeing diners as they eat. There are cocktail bars tucked away on almost every floor, which Myron has carefully curated with curiosities, some literally out of this world.
It's an actual meteorite, 4.7 billion years old.
But for all the changes, he left Clifton's woodland dining room much as it was.
I was 5 years old about.
84-year-old Latrice Holzman-Exler remembers it from her first visit in 1936.
My mother wore a hat, and gloves. Oh no, gloves and a hat were very, very important.
Since it reopened early last month, Clifton's massive kitchen has cooked up enough cakes and carrot salad to feed more than 125,000 customers. And, in keeping with its tradition of social responsibility, many of those doing the cooking were themselves in need of a hearty helping of Clifton-style compassion. Barbara Jacobs is in charge of outreach.
We've decided to go out, reach out to sober living communities, at-risk youth and other groups, and offer people jobs.
Those hires amount to about 10% of Clifton's workforce. So while it may not be handing out free meals anymore, it certainly hasn't stopped trying to help.
There's something very humbling about being the person who takes that legacy and brings that to new generations and a new audience.
Clifton's signature has always been the most comforting of comfort foods, turkey and stuffing. It's served here every day. A reminder that at the cafeteria of the Golden Rule, Thanksgiving is a daily occurrence in more ways than one.
There's no mistaking that summer sound, the ice cream truck, triggering sugar highs among kids and some pretty fond memories among adults, too, our Nancy Giles included.
Do you know what the coolest song of the summer is? Here's a hint. It's a classic. Yep, it's the jingle of your friendly neighborhood ice cream truck.
When you hear the bell ring and you know the ice cream truck is nearby, what happens to you?
I get really happy and I scream, ice cream!
You're everybody's friend when you're out there and everybody likes you.
Paul DeMarco and his wife Donna have been making friends for almost 20 years driving their ice cream trucks.
As a his and a hers.
And they have yet to cool on the business.
Goodness gracious, look at that.
What is your favorite part of doing this work?
Well, my favorite part of it is every day is a different adventure. Mm-hmm. It's not your typical daily grind of going to an office job and seeing the same people and doing the same thing.
And let's be honest, who doesn't like hearing people say they love you when you're delivering the goods?
But ice cream author Laura Weiss says the frozen treat hasn't always been available to the man on the street.
Because sugar was phenomenally expensive. You had to be rich to eat anything made with it. And the spices that went into ice cream, there was cinnamon ice cream, there was chocolate, which was new and exotic, vanilla. These were imported, and they were very expensive.
Then, in 1920, an Ohio inventor named Harry Burt put a stick into a cheap packaged ice cream bar and called it a good humor bar.
He came up with the idea to equip a refrigerated truck with ice cream treats. And the first one was, of course, this ice cream bar with a stick in it. At first, he had about a dozen of them, and he started out in Youngstown, Ohio, and then it spread like crazy.
Soon, the sweet taste of ice cream was available to everyone.
The trucks went everywhere, in the suburbs, in the cities, in neighborhoods rich and poor, and in between. The ice cream truck was and still is everywhere.
Nearly a century later,
vanilla and coffee.
A new flavor of ice cream truck is dishing out to today's ice cream lover.
It's a pretty awesome combination.
Ben Van Leeuwen is co-owner of Van Leeuwen Ice Cream, and he doesn't make just any old ice cream.
That's a 99% chocolate, so no sugar. That's fresh turmeric.
What is this?
That is coriander seeds, and that we use for a new limited edition flavor we're doing, which is a curried nut with salted caramel swirl.
Van Leeuwen serves artisanal ice cream, meaning they make everything by hand with carefully sourced ingredients.
Those are a special variety of hazelnut that only grow in Piedmont, Italy, and they're our favorites.
And to keep up with the times, they've even started making, brace your taste buds, vegan ice cream.
Oh my goodness. That banana is so potent. Oh my goodness. I don't get the vegan part. This just tastes great. That's actually insane how good it is.
And that's vegan. Vegan with 5 ingredients.
Ben, I'm gonna be a vegan.
All right, I'm glad we've converted you.
That's all well and fine, but sometimes the classics are all you need.
At age 54, she's had 145 careers and too many outfits to count.
We're into Barbie! We're into Barbie! Dr.
Barbie is one of the most popular toys on the planet, worth billions to her owner, Mattel.
And we're here.
Of course, Mattel is known for a lot more than Barbie. And yes, that is a bone shaker Hot Wheels hot rod I'm riding in. Eat your heart out.
Ready.
Let me hold the wheel
Would you please?
Yeah. Executive Vice President Tim Kilpin took me for a behind-the-scenes tour of Mattel's El Segundo, California Fun Factory.
We have our marketing and our design, packaging, engineering people all here under one roof and all
walk inside this dream house and feel like a kid again. He-Man, Fisher-Price, Uno, the Magic 8-Ball. So much to see and hear.
Just pull the ring. You never know what she'll say next.
Tell me a story.
There's a chemistry lab where scientists make, what else? Slime. If designers have an idea for a new toy, well, they'll just order it up on a 3D printer. Oh my gosh.
Wow. Out of the ooze.
There's a department just for doll hair.
I just push out the pedal on the bottom, and I am sewing her hair.
And just around the corner, the Hot Wheels garage.
Oh my gosh. So one loop is back.
Whoa! It's a mini Detroit with its own car designers, like Alec Tam.
I had been in the car industry for a little bit of time after graduating from college, and it wasn't that fun. And when I got here, I get to design whole cars, and they're all different. It's not always a minivan. A Hot Wheels minivan has a jet engine on it.
They're the fastest metal cars you've ever seen.
To judge from the ads, the audience for these toys hasn't really changed.
Which new racing cars will blow away the competition?
Something like Hot Wheels is clearly being marketed to boys, and something like Barbie is obviously being marketed to girls. Do you ever get any kind of pushback about gender stereotyping?
Oh, sure. We have people ask us, why don't we have a girl in a Hot Wheels commercial? The truth is the majority of kids playing are boys.
Brian Stockton is Mattel's CEO. We met him for tea at the American Girl Store Cafe.
This is really all about the girl creating a doll that looks like her or her best friend.
At about $100 a doll, the stores are a huge moneymaker for Mattel. This store has its own hospital and hair salon.
Okay. There you go. Enjoy the rest of your day. You're welcome.
It's all a long way from Mattel's humble roots in a garage. In 1945, Ruth and Elliot Handler started a small picture frame business out of it. But things changed quickly.
We had some slats of wood left over. Elliot looked at the slats of wood. He says, we can make dollhouse furniture.
Soon, Mattel was in the toy business and inking deals with Dr. Seuss and Disney. Then, in 1959, enter Barbara Millicent Roberts.
Barbie, you're beautiful. You make me feel my Barbie doll is really real.
Keeping this baby boomer up to date is the job of designers like Robert Best and Evelyn Mazzocco.
I actually came to Mattel from the fashion industry, New York City.
So it could have been House of Chanel instead it's House of Barbie.
Exactly.
Yeah. The only difference is we're working at 11.5-inch scale.
Mattel has been the #1 toy maker for 19 years. But as we saw in this play pattern observation group for Thomas and Friends, yes, Mattel owns that too, kids aren't always easy to read.
No, that's called vandalism.
And they have more choices than ever before, says BMO Capital Markets toy analyst Garrick Johnson.
The way kids play hasn't changed much over the generations, but there are a lot more options, there are a lot more digital options out there, a lot of free options. I'd say that's probably the biggest thing right now, is we're in an era of free digital entertainment.
Which brings us to Monster High, a doll line featuring the kids of famous monsters going through high school. It's a billion-dollar brand, and to introduce it, Mattel went right to tweens' screens.
When we first launched this, we did a music video that we put on YouTube, and then that led us to the website that had webisodes on it.
So as a kid, you're just thinking, wow, here's this neat story. Right. I had no idea that there's a toy associated with it.
The message to girls was, go meet these characters on the website.
And then, lo and behold, the doll is available.
Right.
Almost every Mattel brand has its own storyline that kids can find online.
I want to put together the perfect outfit for my date with Ken. It's our 43rd anniversary.
A Barbie reality series.
Let's go!
A Hot Wheels movie. The idea? Storylines that drive customers
every month
to store shelves.
What cars will you drive?
Before we left, there was one more thing Mattel wanted to show us. It was top secret until now.
Boy, this is gonna be big.
This better be good.
I think you're gonna like this, all right?
Is it for a boy or a girl?
Well, I think it's for everybody, of all ages.
Ooh, okay.
This is special. This is unique. Are you ready? This is the Mo Rocca doll. Best friend of Barbie.